And welcome back to Shelf Center. This is Bryce. Thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing. If this is something you end up enjoying. You never know. It could happen. Hey, yeah, I did kind of switch some things up. Got a little more intimate here. Got a little more, I figured out my stuff is all. I was never happy with where I was filming from before. Just a little too removed, too much bookshelf. I had to maintain some professionalism at my work, so my fantasy book collection was kind of more of a tiny portion, or is kind of more of a tiny portion of what I can have here. So anyway, let's just focus on that. That was what I went for here. So here we go. Hopefully you like it. Hopefully that's a good change. But anyway, this is my top shelf news for the week-ish time. And we talk about fantasy, science fiction, sometimes horror as it relates mostly to books, but also as it relates to media. So it just kind of depends on what's out there. We've got a little bit of a mix of both today. So anyway, let's jump into it. Probably one of the biggest news items I have, just because it's Malazan related, one of my favorite series. Well, it is my favorite series of all time. Spoiler alert if you've watched any of my top videos, but Patrick Leo has just been killing it when it comes to, he's the art director for The Broken Binding in these editions of the Malazan Book of the Fallen, which are going to start coming out in the next couple of months, I understand from watching Patrick's videos. But we've got some end papers that were leaked, apparently, some end paper artwork that was leaked for Memories of Ice. And it's essentially a little bit of a spoiler, so just be careful. I mean, just naming where it's from and some characters, I don't think is going to be the end of the world. But anyway, it's awesome. It looks so good. It's the Siege of Capistan, and I have confirmation from Patrick that it's Gruntle and Stani, but it doesn't. I was questioning it, and Patrick confirmed that it's not exactly true to the book, which I was going, because I was like, I think it's supposed to be Gruntle and Stony, but anyway, it's one of those where it's a little inaccurate. It looks like it may need some touch-ups here. Author or illustrator is Renee Eigner. It still looks amazing. I love it. I think, anyway, I know I was going, is this what I think it is? So I was questioning it. I'm sure other fans will, so maybe some changes will happen, but we'll see. It doesn't matter. It's still great. I think it still looks good. I'm picky enough, or maybe this will be the special edition that's flawed, and then it'll come up with the second edition that corrects it, but then the first one then is just worth more. I don't know. I still want them, to be honest. So anyway, second bit of news. This is huge. This dropped on because I pre-ordered it, dropped on my Audible account, but it is The Curse of the Mistwraith by Janie Wirtz, book 1 in the Wars of Light and Shadow. It's got itself an audiobook. It's amazing. It's a miracle. I never thought this day would come. Frankly, one of the reasons that has just been bogging me down with this series is that the only way really to read it, other than the last couple books in the series, is to read it with your eyeballs. And my eyeball reading time is so I just have so little of it these days with everything going on. I just started a new law firm. I've got kids in all of the sports. I'm pretty sure they didn't say no to anything, which again I encourage. So it's my own fault. Partly it's they love it. I can't say no. Lots of different things, but there's so much going on right now. If I'm at work, if I'm not at work, then I'm running around being a taxi service, and then crashing after maybe reading for a little bit. So one of these days we'll get over it. As you can probably see, I'm also suffering from some crazy allergies. Good old springtime. I love springtime. I love getting rid of winter. And then at the same time, it just wreaks havoc on my whole face, especially my eyes. So if I look like a zombie, it's probably because I am. But anyway, this is such good news, and it's so cool to see, and I just hope part of this is a little selfish. I want to promote it. I want more people to get this series so we can have the rest of the books in audio. That's all I ask. Anyway, please, please, please. So let's get this happening. If you love me at all, I make nothing from this. Just go get Curse of the Mistwraith. And I will be happy. And then we'll tell the publisher, see, you should do the rest of them. In fact, just do all of them right now. Don't think about it. That's my only request. One little request, okay? All right, I thought this was cool. Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. It looks like it's getting traditionally published. Going the route of the Michael J. Sullivans, the Andy Weir of self-publishing first. It does quite well, and then getting traditionally published. I think that's cool. It's a way, especially for the author, to kind of maximize, I feel like, hey, you know, the exposure. I'm sure there's some level where you have a chip on your shoulder as an independent author, which you shouldn't have, frankly, especially with a popular one. But I'm sure there's something that's like, am I really an author? Because authors are delicate. They're delicate little flowers. I know them, and I love them, and I'm so grateful for them. But I know that this is a hard business, and so anyway, I'm just excited to see that. I love it. Again, no shade on anyone. If you're going traditionally, if you're going self-published, they are all the best. I get to benefit as a reader because I get the best of both worlds. I can read a traditionally published book, I can read an independently published book, and I consider so many of them my favorites. It doesn't even matter where they're published. So anyway, don't get the chip on your shoulder is what I'm saying. But it's good news. Hey, good news for what I hear is a great series. I do own the first book and I need to read it. Then this is kind of, I mean, a little bit on the same line, not really, but SFF Addicts has James Logan on their podcast, I believe, is an interview with James Logan, author of The Silver Blood Promise, which is coming out here in May, so very soon here. I think it's like May 7th or something. Editing Bryce knows. James Logan is someone I've been following for some time. In the late aughts to the early teens of this millennium. So like I want to say like 2009, 2008, maybe to 2013 or something around there. Back when I had my blogging days, but James Logan was a blogger for Speculative Horizons, and always was a trustworthy reviewer. I just always could trust what he was promoting. And I read many a great book because of his opinions and what he put in that blog, his Speculative Horizons blog about speculative fiction. And so I just absolutely thought that was great. Then I thought it was even better when he got a job as, I believe, somewhere in editing, but at least in publishing. And then now is coming out with his first book. I just think it's so cool. I love seeing people like reach their dreams and have their dreams effectuated, and it looks like he's doing that exact thing. I love the cover for this book. I love his advice just from the snippet that I heard of him just saying, look, there's a lot of writing advice out there. A lot of it is garbage, mostly because each person has their own process, and you got to kind of figure out your own process, and then you can kind of work with yourself, right? And he's like, this took me so long to like figure out that I had to figure out a process, and then now writing comes smoother because I know myself. So, you know, as what was it, Hamlet? It wasn't Hamlet himself that said it, but in Hamlet, was it Polonius, I think? To thine own self be true, right? So anyway, Shakespeare has lots of good advice, I guess. But I thought that was great. I think it's so cool to see this. And anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. I am definitely checking my bookstore as soon as that drops in May, whatever date that is, I think the 7th. Then I thought Patrick Leo, you know, he has a great video out. The golden age of epic fantasy is over. I thought it's a great discussion, kind of jump off point. I think he makes excellent points in that video. He's spot on, frankly, and especially he's talking about reading kind of some authors out there that are talking about, hey, here's my latest deal. They're limiting the word count into like under 100,000 words, which, as we know, if you're, you know, following Brandon Sanderson at all, his epics in the Stormlight Archive are around 400,000, you know, words, which are on the longer end, I will say, of epic fantasy. But your big chonky ones are 250,000 words. I think that's what About the Name of the Wind is, and so so you're looking at a lot of books. They need that space, you know, because first of all, you're building a whole different world, and that's what epic fantasy is doing. And as opposed to what Patrick's point is like we're kind of had this resurgence more of like romantasy. with what is it, Iron Flame and what is it, The Fourth Wind. You've got cozy fantasy kind of making its own, another heyday, or a heyday. I don't know if it ever had its first heyday. Kind of just expressing like, it's kind of disappointing. It's the publishing goes in cycles, and so maybe we're into kind of a more like short, get things on the shelf. I'm sure. I guess I don't know, but I'm assuming print, brick and mortar book places, you like, they only have so much space. They want to feature lots of books. They want to get all of it out there, and you can't have chunky books taking up most of the space unless you're Brandon Sanderson, George R. R. Martin, or a well-established author that sells tons of books already, or a new one that's selling tons of books. But how are you going to get there? They're going to make you limit yourself and kind of hone in. And I do get it to some degree because of Amazon taking over and owning so much of the space, and brick and mortar being so much harder to kind of keep books in there in any kind of brick and mortar environment. So I understand publishers needing to kind of, hey, we got to focus on what we can like maximize on. And even like one of the authors that Patrick mentions is Peter McLean, which I started. I need to keep reading. But his book series is not chunky. They're pretty smaller books. They're not too long, and they sold and they were profitable. Yet still they're going, we're going to drop your series, at least in the U.S. You didn't earn us a ton of money. You just earned us some money, which is like, you're like, I don't know, isn't some better than nothing? But apparently that's where we're at, and they've got to make sure that everything's knocked out of the park, which I just don't understand. Like, it's like not possible. It seems like, how do you know unless you just pick up a dungeon crawler Carl that's already shown that it can be successful, I guess. So anyway, what I did think though is we still, at least, like I've been saying, is that the golden age of epic fantasy is over, but the golden age of indie fantasy is just beginning, in my opinion. And I've been saying that we live in a golden age of indie fantasy. I mean, we have the Cradle series. Now, these are short books, so would fall under the traditionally published, contracts where they're limiting their word count. But with the Cradle series, it's still, 12 books, and that's a large series, right? That's a lot to get going. Maybe you can divide something up that way, or just, again, self-publishing has the ability to do that, because you don't have to listen to the traditionally published people, and hopefully through that we can have somebody make a name and, again, pull publishing back, get us our epics, because I will agree with Patrick. I love me some epic fantasy, getting lost in a world. My favorites are the more epic, the bigger, the better. Malazan, Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time. I mean, these things are just huge. Janny Wirtz, as I just mentioned, these huge in scale and large tomes of books, 11 books long, and just, I can't get enough of them. And I will say, in Sanderson, who is the one that can actually write the huge tomes because they're going to sell, he's still doing it, first of all, so hopefully he can show the publishers that it still works. People still want this. And on top of it, he's also kind of, doing some of his own independently publishing things. So hopefully that means maybe he opens his own publishing wing and we get some other stuff that way. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up, guessing, all those kinds of things. I have no basis in reality, okay? But I still see a light here. We still are in a different golden age, if not epic fantasy. But luckily, there's still lots of epic fantasy that I have not read. And so, I'll just have to enjoy what is out there, because I got plenty. My TBR is, I could get buried in it easily. All right, then jumping onto the medias. They've got a couple announcements with medias. First things first, I think I'm the last one, finally saw Dune 2, and I loved it. I might, though, and this is I think I'm the only one, I think I like the first one better. That doesn't mean I didn't like this one. I loved Dune 2. I thought it was great, but I think I like Dune 1 better, just because it was the first time of just seeing these beautiful shots just over and over again. Seeing that worm for the first time was so cool. Like, I was just like, goosebumps all over. It was so amazing seeing some of those scenes and just done so well to this degree. I don't know if anything can ever top that for me. Whereas I loved this one. I thought it had great scenes. I thought the actors were brilliant. I thought Fade Rotha was just insane. Dave Bautista, I don't know. I was kind of noticing he's a little bit of a one-note actor, and I hope I don't get thrown out for this, tossed off the internet. I love him. I think he's a great Drax, but I'm like, it's hard not to just be like he's just a meaner Drax in Dune. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I'm trying to think of. I know I saw him in like one of the James Bond movies, but basically what I'm saying is it's amazing. It's also S tier, like part one. I just think I'm literally the only one that liked part one better, and literally solely because like I already had the like blown away by the visuals with part one, and watching it again even was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I still can't believe like this is so amazing that this exists. And then part two, I think I need another watch too, frankly. Let's be honest here. But it was excellent. All right, then this is huge news. Huge news for me, who actually did not get to see the third movie in theaters, and I'll tell you about it. But Lord of the Rings, the original Peter Jackson movies are getting re-released in theaters, the extended versions, because I'm pretty sure that's all anyone acknowledges anymore. Nobody would even go to the theatrical versions in theaters, which is kind of funny. But I think that it had to be, right? You better believe I will be lining up to go watch these, and already got approval. So we're good to go with my son at least. Maybe some other kids, if I can convince them, and really just hopefully they don't have nightmares about the orcs. But as someone who was able to watch the first two, The Fellowship and The Two Towers, in theaters at the time where they were coming out, in about like, what was it, 2001, 2002. But in 2003, I was not able to watch the third movie, and it crushed me. I was in Switzerland at the time, and so I could not watch it, and I was jealous of everybody else watching it. Anyway, I cannot wait to actually watch that in theaters. I love, they're the best. Best movies I think that I've ever seen. I think I would put them number one, all of them as number one, because, I need to save space for tons of other movies at least 10 movies that I consider my top 5. We got to make sure I can do that. Anyway, okay, then we've got Fallout was renewed for season 2. So I think that's not unexpected. It's gotten pretty rave reviews, done pretty well, so that's pretty cool. Again, just like to see that science fiction, fantasy, things that do well, unlike Lord of the Rings related things. I assume the extended versions will do well in theaters again. We need a palate cleanser after Rings of Power, I guess. But anyway, that's great. Then, and this is the last news I have, is The Witcher season 5 will be the last. Just gonna end it. It seems like something was fumbled there. Am I crazy? It just feels like it just seems to have gone downhill, and I don't think people cared about season 3 all that much. But season 5 apparently is going to be the end, going to be done, and I don't know. I think at this point people are kind of, I don't know, frustrated with it, sick of it, but probably for the best. Let's not beat this dead horse, I guess. And there we go. So I think probably good call, especially after losing Henry Cavill. It's such a weird situation. So anyway, there it is. It'll be done. So that's the news for this week. As you could see, I fixed with the whole new setup. I actually fixed it by getting an extension, but my cord isn't in the way anymore. I got an extension, but then I didn't actually end up needing it, because then I just changed up my whole situation, and now this is working much better as far as I can tell. And anyway, hopefully it is. Anyway, and as usual, there are deals down in the description below. They are affiliate links, so I do make some money off of each purchase that is made. It does help the channel. There's not like a ton that gets made because they are deals. So I do like to kind of just track if people like them, and there's a reason I keep doing it, because People tend to enjoy these, I think, based on the clicks that are clicking through to them. So I can't resist a good deal is my main thing. So there we are. So anyway, thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.